All right, so I'm looking at our second video for the comparing and scaling quiz number 1. This video is going to focus on learning target. I can use scale or a giant 1 to solve proportions. And we're going to look at two of the problems here, problem number 1 and problem number 3. You might notice I've written them a little bit larger because my handwriting is just bigger and I'm not going to be able to work in such a small area like the original problems. So let's look at problem number 1 first. I notice that I am looking for the top number in this ratio right here, what I can replace k with to make these two ratios equivalent. I'm noticing that the ratio on the right, the denominator here is smaller, so that means that this numerator is also going to be smaller than the number above right here. So what I'm using is I first have to find my scale, and I'm going to do that by taking my two parts I know, the 8 and the 4, and I'm actually going to divide to figure out what my scale is. Well, 8 divided by 4 is equal to 2. I'm going to say that will be what I use for my giant 1. So I'm going to put 2 here because I know that's what I used to get from one to the other, and I have to use 2 in the top to make it equivalent. When I work from 4 to 8, I knew that I was taking 4, multiplying it by 2, and that would equal 8. If I'm multiplying in this direction in my denominator, I must do the same thing in my numerator. So 14 times 2, well, that equals 28. So the real value I have for k would be the value of 28, so that these two ratios would be equivalent. Now I'm going to look at problem number 3, and I'm going to solve it in a similar way. I have to figure out what the value of d actually is. That is what I am looking for the end of my problem. I want to know, well, what is the value of d? To do that, I need to figure out what my scale is, or what my giant 1 is. Off the top of my head, I don't know what I multiply 6 by to get 15, so I have to figure that out. The way I do that is I take 15, and I'm actually going to divide by 6. When I type that into my calculator, which I'm doing off to the side, I get a value of 2.5 or 2.5. Meaning that is my scale again, that 15 is 2.5 times larger than 6. So that's the number that is going into my giant 1. Because it's increasing from 6 to 15, it's larger. I know that I have to take 6 and multiply it by 2.5. So I'm actually going to do the same thing in my numerator as well. Again, I'm going to do this in my calculator. 14 times 2.5 is equal to 35. So the value I have for d would be 35.